Good evening. It's 5 p.m. I'm Rob Watton. I'm calling the Public Safety Committee meeting of Monday, June 1st, 2026 to order. And we'll start off with roll call, and we have all council members present. Please note that we have Council Member Cotton and Council Member Testman here, as well as City Deputy Everything, Robert Thrall. Good evening. And Mayor Mayhew, as well as Chief Haracy and Chief Brown for the fire department. With that, very next item is the approval of the agenda. And I do have two additions to the discussion, number 6, and both are related to Bess. The first one is risk mitigation. It actually came up during uh, our last Snoqualmie Valley Governmental Association. There seems to be an interest in doing some coordinated emergency management, and East Side Fire was there, and they may end up being the lead agency since they are part of the donut and we're the middle of the donut. But anyway, that's the first item. And the second one, and that's the review of the minimum liability coverage for best facilities that King County has put in. I'd like to take a review and start the process of reviewing what other communities and states have done across the country. Are there any other additions to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we will approve the agenda as presented. And next, we move on to public comments. Nothing? Nothing? Okay, well, we're glad you're here. If you change your mind, let me know. And with that, I'll close public comments. You're free to come back in 2 weeks. We'll be here again. Minutes, approval of the minutes dated May 18th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cotton, second by Councilmember Testman. By the way, good evening and welcome to the committee. Glad to have you here.
Wouldn't be anywhere else.
With that, any changes to the minutes? Councilmember Cotton, because Councilmember Testman wasn't here last time, wasn't on the council yet. Are the minutes good?
Minutes seem fine.
Okay, well, with that, we will accept the minutes as approved. Thank you very much. Moving on, we are now up to agenda bills. Agenda Bill 26-024, that's covered load ordinance, and I presume that will be Chief Haracy leading this off.
Thank you, council members, Mayor Mayhew. I also printed this out because of the issues that we've seen. So just stick with me while we go through this. But over the last 5 months, we've seen an increase, which we've discussed, in debris falling from vehicles that aren't covered, things like that. We've presented a slew of numbers to y'all. And so what we've come up with is a new city ordinance at y'all's request to address those concerns. And what this ordinance does, we titled it as Chapter 1029 Covered Loads. It defines a covered load. And part of this was also, we've had to vet this through the prosecutors to make sure that everything was in line. So we took some of their recommendations into the definitions and things. So a covered load means any haul of dirt, sand, or gravel carried in a motor vehicle containing a covering to keep the load from escaping. And then we have the motor vehicle description in there. And then we get into basically saying that if you're going to bring a vehicle into the city, any load has to be covered that is hauling any of those substances. We do have an exemption in there, which is 1029.030 emergency use exemption. And then we get into the penalties, and this is where we worked with the prosecutor's office quite a bit The first offense would be $175 fine, and any second or subsequent offenses would be $250. And that kind of just helps us correct behavior, especially once we publish this and talk to the companies going, hey, this is what we're looking at. We're still seeing problems, and we're just trying to address those problems. One of the other things that we address in the ordinance is signage. It's very hard to address it, kind of like the compression brakes. So we would put signage out, Public Works would put those together and put them out at the entry points to the city so that it's designated that once you enter the city, it has to be covered, along with our outreach to the companies that we know frequently travel inside the city and those that are going to the pit. So that's kind of the gist of this ordinance. It's short and sweet. It's gone through, like I said, our prosecutor's office and the city attorney. And we're not the only ones that have done this. I did a little research, and I haven't gotten a deep dive into it, but there is a section up in Snohomish County that has this designated for some of their problem areas as well. So this is something that is very much needed, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. So I presume this is primarily for the parkway, but the way it's written, it can be enforced anywhere in the city, especially on 202.
So a lot of it'll be on the parkway, obviously, because that's the main thoroughfare from I-90 to the quarry there. But it also covers anything on Railroad, 384, 284th, or any other city street, because our mill pond in the areas that fall under in the city limits, because they're going to access it from some point to get to the quarry or drop down to Falls City, Duval, or get up to I-90.
Thank you. Council members, any questions, comments on this?
Don't, I think we've had lots of education.
Yeah. Yes.
Couple
Councilmember
questions, Chief.
Katzman.
Thank you, Chair. So I know you indicated for the first offense, well, you indicated that the prosecutors provided input on the fines, or no?
So we've talked about the fines. They also looked at the body language to include the definitions and just how it was all worded, but they've been included throughout the entire process.
Okay. Thank you for that. I guess one question, and I know when you talked about the fines, your focus was on education, which is always appreciated just as a normal, human potentially interacting with law enforcement. How do those fines, if a truck is, on 90, I can't tell you how many trucks I've seen uncovered, and it drives me crazy. What would, Washington State Patrol pulls them over? What's the fine there?
So that's dictated under the RCW. They just did a rate change. It's going to be around $154, but it varies. And I say it varies because they just made a big change to it. I would actually have to log in and go look for it.
Fair enough.
But typically right now, the fines went from like 136 to about the 154 range, depending on what it is.
So this is in line with essentially with state.
It's staying in line, and this also keeps us in line with what we just did on the compression brakes, because that is, I think we put a $250 on that one as well. So we went a little bit lower for the first offense, and then we top out at that $250. And since you haven't been in some of the discussions, I'll kind of just bring you up to speed on some things. We set a fine in the ordinance, but that doesn't mean that the judge, when it goes to the court, that they're not going to reduce or address any concerns, because they will be able to present their case to the judge, and he may reduce it to $100. Sure. I don't know. But this kind of keeps us in line with some of the other ordinances that we are bringing up to par that haven't been addressed since, the last one was 1986. Wow. We've got one tonight that was built in, or written in 1903.
Yeah.
So it just brings it up to par with where everybody is right now.
Okay. That's helpful. And then I guess the only other question I had is, this kind of goes back to the retreat, I think, right? We were discussing commercial vehicle enforcement. for actually enforcing this ordinance, is any special training required for the officers? And kind of the second part of that question would be for prosecution, is an affidavit from the officer sufficient, or like, will they legitimately need to have a ruler to show there was less than 6 inches of freeboard and, document that? Just for my edification.
So there's not any additional training needed because it's just observed, them being observed. So for instance, a few weeks ago, I was leaving here, I turned onto the parkway and I watched a truck bring its cover over because they saw us. It was me and another officer in the same area. So that's just a visual observation. The officer will write out a citation. His affidavit is attached to it. It goes to the court. So it's a pretty simple, no different than a speeding ticket. It's
Okay.
written the same way. The only difference is it's an ordinance. State Patrol can also utilize it and cite it in our municipal court as well if they know, once they know it's on there as well. Typically, they're going to stick with the RCWs because they're also going to look at weights and things like that where they're bringing out all their tools and things like that. So, but for us, it's an easy address because it's visual observation. If it comes into the city, it would have to be covered. So the 6-inch freeboard thing is set by the state. We're just regulating further, which is a lot permissible.
That's true. Yeah. We have a more restricted standard. Yeah. Okay.
So we just have a stricter standard. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have to measure that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. As far as discussion of putting this on the regular agenda, or
The other ones are on consent.
consent? Yes.
I was gonna
City
say, this is
attorney.
an ordinance.
Oh,
Good.
don't have to.
So we have to go to
Yeah, it would have
Full
to be first and second.
first
reading
and
of the
second
ordinance.
reading. Okay, yes. And the same for the next one. Thank you. So we'll, with no objection, we'll send that on to the agenda for the next city council meeting for the first reading. All right, that brings us to the next one, and this is AB 26-024. This is the e-motorcycle amendment to ordinance 1315 that was adopted on December 8th, 2025. And this will add the requirement, and it just clarifies, adds the requirement to have a valid driver's license and motorcycle endorsement. Chief, would you like to explain?
I can. So throughout some review of process and our enforcing things in other cities and departments looking at us as a model for our ordinance, I had a question asked about that one sentence, and where we hadn't clearly stated in the ordinance that a valid driver's license and a motorcycle endorsement was required. It was referenced under the RCW, and that's listed in there. And it's just something that's not very clear and people would have to go look it up. So what I'm trying to do in this ordinance is just, we're going to renumber some things and add in the one sentence so that when people pull it up on our website or we publish it, it's very clearly stated that you have to have those items. And to give you an example, I mean, we've had 18, this month, we've had 18 calls for service on e-motorcycles, or for the month of May, I should say, because we're in June now. We've impounded 7 over the last 2 weekends. So we did 3 on Saturday, and then we did 4 over the last weekend. None of the operators had valid operators licenses. So I think it's a very important piece for us to just put it in plain language saying that this is a requirement. We did a lot of discussion on it over, the last 2 years. And I think it just helps educate our community and make that piece out there for all drivers and operators of any devices.
Very well. Thank you. Mr. Thrall, I just want clarification. We just moved the first one to the agenda. Did I miss having a motion and a second? Do we need to do that formally to make sure that we get that to the agenda? Did it through consent?
No, just your gut.
Okay, okay, yes, Mayor,
Yes,
please.
just your guidance. We'll,
Okay.
You, if you wish to vote on it, it's fine, but it was clear that that was your
Okay.
guidance.
All right. Very well. Just didn't want to make sure that I made an error. Okay. So on the amendment to the motorcycle, any questions for the chief?
No, I think it spells it out clearly.
Okay. Yes. Councilmember Tessman.
So not a question on what you're proposing here, just a general question. I know that flyers were sent out when the ordinance was first written and passed, that went out to residents, so that was great. Is there any is there any education or outreach being completed specifically by the SRO? Because that's our target population, right? And obviously one half is parents knowing, and then the other half is like the kids themselves. Just curious if anything's going on there.
So we have multiple things going on in preparation for hopefully passing this. If it went to the second reading on the 22nd, I think would be that meeting. My PIO is currently working up a form to work with the community or our communications director on an update of the ordinance, a new graphic to kind of push a whole new message out. And then the SRO is working with the school to also get some piece of the ordinance, the verbiage, things like that into the student handbook on what is allowed, especially on school property, to kind of address that issue of it there. And then once, we just put a big message out. Last year, we also sent out things in our little flyers in our, in the utility billing.
Yeah, that's
So we can do that again with this particular flyer that we're actually working on now. And my goal is that'll be completed this week to go to the communications director the first part of next week, and plenty of time to prep for what would be a second reading on the 22nd for this, and just kind of push all of it out. Social media, the school district, because they can push it out through Parent Square.
Yes.
And then we can also push it out through our utility billing as long as there's notification. It might go out in July, but at least we're pushing that out.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you much. Councilmember Cotton.
Just, so you're thinking some of this educational stuff won't get out until July. I was just wondering if there's any preliminary push that could go through the school district, at least to get the info out before school ends on the 16th.
That's kind of our goal too, is get a lot of messaging out. We might do a quick push. The school district has been on board with pushing some stuff out. I will reach out to the SRO tomorrow to try to get something at least in Parent Square ahead of time,
Yeah.
because we can reuse or recycle one of the previous ones that they have pushed out through Parent Square and things like that.
Okay.
And then one of the things we're also looking at that I did not mention is for the beginning of the school year,
Yeah.
when they do their assemblies and things like that, and the students are onboarding for their new year, is to have the SRO do an education piece there.
Oh, great.
So that's in the works. Obviously, it takes a little bit of work and coordination to get there, but those have been in the works for the last 2 months.
Super. Thank you, Chief.
It'd be to follow up on both those comments. It'd be kind of cool to involve the school's media program in helping to spread this word out. And we don't have to wait until we amend this too, because this just gives clarification. The ordinance is already there. You need a motorcycle helmet, you need a license, and you need the other piece, which is you have to be certified, right? Endorsed. You have to have a
And that's
motorcycle
what we're trying to
endorsement.
just clarify here, is that endorsement piece, but
And the other one, help us on the other one, and that's the Class 3 e-bike, which is different than this,
yes, that falls
But-
under our e-bike ordinance.
but it also requires
It has requirements for certain things.
not totally everything here, but it has a flavor of it, and it just is probably not as problematic as the motorcycle issue. So.
We have a
all right.
lot less issues with the e-bikes versus the e-motorcycles right now.
All right. Is there any objection to sending that on for the first reading of the council? Okay, we will do that then. Right. Now, the third one, AB 26-028, ordinance about animal cruelty code. And Chief, back to you again.
Actually, this one goes over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem, Chair. I'm actually going to be speaking on this one.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
you did very
evening.
well.
I know.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Thrall.
Thank you, Chair, council members. My understanding is this was previously brought before the committee by a presentation by City Attorney Burke. And then per your request recommendations, now we're bringing forth the agenda bill, which is looking to repeal Snoqualmie Municipal Code Section 9.20, which was on animal cruelty. And as you are aware, that was adopted in 1903 and has not been amended since.
Right.
The wording and subsequent legal implications are outdated. So as the city has started the gradual process of code amendments, this was the first one we were looking at. But along with that, the city also contracts for animal control services with the county.
Mhm.
And the county has asked that the city adopt similar code to the county Title 11, which is their animal control and care code. And to go further down that, the city in 1986 through Ordinance 570 adopted by reference Title 11 already with the King County Code. So that brings us to where we are today. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them or go into more detail where I can.
Questions?
No, I read through Title 11 and it hasn't changed much in the last few years.
Yeah, and they updated it. They had an amendment in 2023. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know what was amended or added or what they all did with it.
Getting rid of references to dumb animal makes sense to me.
Yeah, it is definitely in an outdated section of our code.
Okay, all right. Any further comments? Yes.
And then one other note, as I was looking at the proposed motion, it states and adopting Title 11 King County Code Animal Care Control. And that's almost redundant since we've already adopted it. So the
Right.
proposed motion could just state the approval of the ordinance 1325, the repealing Snoqualmie Municipal Code 9.20.
Just to clarify, so we're
Or,
eliminating the reference to Title 11? Or
Mm,
no? We're
No,
we're
Title
just-
11 was already adopted by
Right.
ordinance, by reference, in 1986, and that was
Right.
ordinance 570 that the city passed.
Okay, okay. Very well.
could we just
Councilmember
word it
Cobb.
then, since we've already adopted Title 11?
Absolutely.
Just for
For
clarity?
the clarification of it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
for the other council members.
You got it.
okay.
Not to put too fine a
Councilmember.
point on it, but thank you, sorry, Chair. Wouldn't the most correct motion be move to approve ordinance 1325 to repeal SMC 9.20 since 11's already integrated into our code? Okay.
Yeah, that's, and I'm,
It's strictly a repeal.
And that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention,
Yeah.
just so you had an opportunity to discuss it.
so just because the window to the proposed motion is kind of limited, it says move to approve ordinance 1325 repealing Snoqualmie Municipal Code 9.20 and adopting Title 11 King County, and then it gets cut off. So,
The, Ye-
you'll get that cleaned up.
We'll get
anyway.
that cleaned up.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring it to your attention because the ordinance, the title of the ordinance is just repealing Snoqualmie Municipal Code 9.20.
Could-
We have already adopted Title 11 through ordinance.
Could we, instead of using the word adopting, reaffirm Title 11 of King County, whatever it is? Yes, Mayor.
Although your actual ordinance doesn't reaffirm anything. So my suggestion is just keep it simple. I don't know why this extra wording got in there. I think you're just repealing 9.20 period.
Okay,
So we'll clean that
Yeah.
up and just get that simplified. I think the goal here was to try and make sure that council was aware of kind of, why are you getting rid of this? Oh,
Right.
because you know, they just want to make sure you guys were aware. But the actual action that's needed is merely to repeal the outdated code. The existing code is, the remaining code then is where it needs to be.
okay, thank you. Councilmember Cotton.
Then for going forward to council, could we put that in the introduction that we already have Title 11 in effect since 1986?
Absolutely. We'll get that added.
Absolutely.
Just for the clarity for them.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Any objection sending this on to the regular agenda for the first reading?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll move Agenda Bill 26-028 to
Next
to
council.
strike, repeal SMC 9.20. Very well. Now, Chief Brown, good evening. Nice to see you here.
All right, good evening, council members and mayor and Mr. Do-It-All Thrall. Is that what it is? All right.
All right, that's gonna stick.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about, something that's one of my favorite things to talk about, honestly, in the department is our volunteer program. And not just because one of our long-standing and members is here, but it really is a joy to be able to talk about our program and just share some general information with you all about it. So recently we interviewed a long process of vetting volunteers, applicants. We got over 30 applications for this last cycle, which it steadily increases as the number of volunteer departments and opportunities dwindle, especially on the west side of the state here. The more opportunities it gives us to find those needles in the haystack and those gems and those really great people that add a lot of value to our organization. So really excited about the process that we have in place. It's something that I've done in the 2 years that I've been here. This is our third round of interviews and onboarding candidates. So we start out with, when we bring them in for their interviews, they do a panel interview with myself, our lead volunteer EMT, Robert Angersano, another one of our volunteers. So there's 3 panel members. We also do a physical assessment, and then we do a written, which we just redid. The one that we had in place still had firefighter tactics and things, which they don't do anymore. And so we made it specific to the EMT program itself and some basic EMT knowledge. So we're constantly refining and reinventing, what this should look like and how we should vet, these new candidates. So we, out of the 11 that we brought in, we selected 4. Those 4 individuals, well, let me take it back just a quick step. We selected 5. 5 members went to a chief's interview. So myself and Chief Bailey sat down with these 5 individuals, did another round of interviews. And from that that list of 5 candidates, we selected 4. And so really excited to eventually get them in front of you, get them after they finish up their probation time, get them introduced to the entire council and city staff team and our residents as well. So we've selected the 4 that we've selected. All of them are Snoqualmie Valley residents, which is great. We have some folks hour south, some people an hour north. Thankfully, these 4 individuals, and this is by no means the reason that they were selected. It was based off of their merit and all their accomplishments and certifications and a credit to themselves. But Natalie Patterson, she's a Snoqualmie resident. All 4 candidates are EMT certified already, so we don't have to send them to school or anything. That's one big thing that we are looking for, because that can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, depending on the program. So the fact that they've already put themselves through that schooling shows that they're dedicated and that they're wanting to take this next step in their volunteer career or whether they want to go on to be career firefighters or EMTs. But Natalie, again, she's a Snoqualmie resident, and she also volunteers with King County Search and Rescue here locally. So she's heavily involved with the community. Her and her husband live here up on the ridge. Jean Liu is another Snoqualmie resident, again, EMT certified, and she also volunteers with a different program called the King County Explorers Program. Similar things that they do, but a different organization. The next is Brennan Daly. He lives out in North Bend. Again, EMT certified, and he volunteers up at Crystal Mountain Ski Patrol. So we've got like this good like breadth and like of experience and a little bit of knowledge and hands-on experience behind each of these individuals. And that kind of does bring me to our last candidate or last, volunteer EMT here. She lives out in Carnation, again, EMT certified. She has volunteered, but in a different capacity with King County Library System. So, and she just wanted to change it up a little bit. And so she's now going to be a volunteer with our department. So, really great to bring on 4. So just to kind of give you an overview of our program right now, we have 3 individuals on support, which means that they come in, and they're not responding to calls. They're coming in on our training nights and supporting the training and putting it on. And so we've got 3 individuals doing that. 9 of our volunteers are in a responding role. And then our 4 new volunteers, which brings us up to a grand total of 16, which is great. That's the highest number that I've seen in the 2 years that I've been here. Our ultimate goal is to get that back up to somewhere around 20. So which is why we may be looking at a fall onboarding as well, and try to bring on maybe up to another 4 volunteers. So we do have some resignations that some attrition that we've had over the past 6 months or so. That's why these new volunteers are stepping in and filling that role. Other than that, so next week we're bringing them in for their onboarding session. So it'll be a night where they come in and learn about policies and procedures, all the things that they're going to be doing as far as training. We get them all the HR packet essentially of all the paperwork that they need to fill out. So totally immersive night of getting them. They get their uniforms, they get all the things that they'll need to be successful. And then we hand them their training packet and say, it's on you and your mentor, because each of them will get assigned a mentor, another volunteer who will mentor that individual, which is another really cool piece of our program, and something pretty unique that just gives them somebody that they can contact day or night, whatever it is, whatever they have questions on. It just kind of gives them that person to go to and somebody to kind of learn from. And we usually stick we always stick or place one of our more experienced individuals with a newer member. So other than that, that's our program. I'm here for any questions that you may have about it, but really excited to, like I said, eventually introduce those 4 new members to you all.
So Chief Brown, I'll start off. First of all, congratulations on finding more volunteers for Councilmember Tessman. Just kind of a overview. Our fire department, we're one of the very few, as you know, not only nationally accredited, but also we have one of the few city-run fire departments in all of King County with 18 staff of 18 or so. So primarily firefighters, EMTs. So having another 16 or 18 volunteers is incredibly valuable to our community. But Chief Brown, how many hours does a volunteer typically put in just in training annually? And rough numbers are fair game.
Sure. I mean, I can get you hard, tangible numbers, but I'd say roughly, man, it's every other week. And that's not even including all the online training that they do. So it's hard to substantiate or to say I would say a general ballpark. We strive for 200 hours for the firefighters. I would say 100 is a good number for the volunteers. And that's, I would say, generally training without including the probation piece, at least 100 hours of training. And a majority of that's hands-on.
it's tremendous. So it's incredibly valuable to the city, and I just want to make sure that that's emphasized. I grew up because my dad was a volunteer firefighter, and he did it for 12 years, and I knew day in and day out how much time they put in, and I realized that I wasn't cut out for that. So I found other ways to volunteer. But it's just such a relief for our community that most people don't understand that. And the other one is search and rescue. And it's only because I kind of oversaw the Explorer search and rescue program for this part of King County. And those volunteers, like our EMT volunteers, put in a tremendous amount of training time. So, yes, we do some investing on it, but what we're getting back is tenfold of what's being spent on the volunteers. And as Chief Brown mentioned, there are not that many volunteer programs in all of King County. So, and Councilmember Cotton knows that well with 20 plus years of doing EMT stuff for our community. It's very, very special. So it's not taken lightly. It's deeply appreciated. It's nice having you here and bringing you over from the Fire Academy to help run the program here. Questions? Yeah,
Yeah.
Councilmember Cotton.
Question and a comment. As Chair Watton was mentioning, so the combination department, not that common, career and volunteers. And while you talked about hours for training, that doesn't even account for the hours on duty, responding on calls that are the backup to our career staff so that our community is covered. Even if they're out on a call or something like that, or we can be transporting to a medical facility if needed and leave the engine available in the city. And so those are all, great attributes for continuing the program for sure. So it's really, and a lot of community events and things like that get put on by the fire department because of the volunteers. Yeah. My question was, what was the name of the fourth volunteer from Carnation?
Did I skip over her name?
I think so, or my short-term memory is kicking in already, so,
Jenna Nash is her name.
okay, Jenna Nash. And then wasn't, Jung, she had applied before,
She had.
and she, yeah,
Personal things she
yeah.
had to attend to, and
I'm glad to
um,
hear she's coming on board, because she had a lot of great qualifications, so.
did. And that's, yeah, it was a no-brainer to, yeah. Obviously, she went through the process just like every other candidate, but
Yeah.
to have a fair and equitable process. But again, she shined and made it through and was selected.
Great, thanks, Chief.
Yes, Councilmember Tessman.
A comment and maybe two questions, if you'll indulge me. The comment is, I mean, just from your description of the volunteers selected, it's just amazing that we have such a wealth of committed citizens. All of them had extensive volunteering experience before this endeavor, and now here they are taking on such a commitment. So, I mean, I think that speaks volumes, obviously, for them, and then we're lucky as a community to have them. So, there's that. First question would be, and maybe it's a can of worms, so forgive me. What's the driving force behind so few volunteer programs in Western Washington? If there's such a force multiplier.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things that I would say are taken into consideration. The volunteerism itself is down just in general across the nation. And so filling those positions is becoming incredibly challenging. While it's a luxury for us right now, because again, being the only game in town or the only, department in the, county, yeah, I think it, bodes well for us. I think money as well could be a potential impact to that. Training numbers wise and PPE and keeping up with the program and all that. Training a firefighter, and that's why we've transitioned our program to EMT only, because we were firefighter EMT
Right.
volunteers. maintaining and running and all the things that go into coordinating and doing all the training involved with being a firefighter, it's pretty immense. And it's another load on the department to sometimes
Facilitate.
double, triple training to make sure that all members are trained appropriately, and so that's a challenge as well. I would say those are probably some of the contributing factors.
So they are a force multiplier. There's no denying that, but it takes a certain level of investment that some departments, their calculus was, it doesn't pencil out, or if you will.
And acceptance from the career staff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some of
'cause-
that, yeah. There
Yeah.
are some, departments I think that wanted to transition to career only.
Interesting. Okay. And then thank you for that. And then the second question I had, you mentioned three volunteers are currently operating in a support mode versus response. I guess just for my own edification, like what drives them being in that status versus, is it just a like, hey, I know over the next 6 months I'm busy with work and personal and whatever, and
Injuries.
injuries is a big one.
Typically injuries. Yeah, we have one of the volunteers that are in that role. He's currently rehabbing from a surgery. Another one, and it's at the chief's discretion. He can put somebody in this role based off of life happenings or personal things going on. So like you'd mentioned, another individual does have, he's finishing his master's degree. He works for the state. Like he's got a lot of things going on his plate right now. So to help relieve some of that stressors and pressure, we slid him over to a support role. And then for Tom, I'm not sure the reason, but maybe Councilmember Cotton can elaborate on that. But he's been in that role for quite some time now.
He started with an injury.
It wasn't an injury that, okay.
Yeah, it was.
And so he's one of our primary trainers and helps fill that role for us every other Wednesday.
Which helps relieve that burden, that administrative.
Right.
burden, yeah.
And he runs our CERT program too. So he
Yeah.
started that back up as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just curious.
Excellent. And by the way, Councilmember Tessman, now that you're on the Public Safety Committee, you are invited to do a ride along with our police department and spend a day with our fire department free of charge from the city. Wonderful experiences. I definitely prefer you to do a full shift of 8 hours rather than the tourist class, which is 2 hours, because especially for police, things change between 11 and 3 o'clock in the morning. You'll appreciate the work they do overnight.
I don't know. Per the retreat, I need to be here from 10 to 4, I guess, right?
There you go. All right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Brown, and thank you, Chief Haracy. Brings us to the next two items. We don't have a whole lot of time, and more of this is just for way of introduction of the topics, and we can carry forward on these. The first one is emergency management plan. This came up at the Snoqualmie Valley Governmental Association meeting last week that Councilmember Cotton and I attended, as well as Mayor Mayhew, and there seems to be an interest in coordinating just disaster relief. FEMA potentially could do some grant funding, and it seems like Eastside Fire is willing to kind of help lead this effort, but all the cities have an interest in having a way of participating. Councilmember Cotton, this is more in your neck of the woods, if I will.
Sure,
I may.
certainly. I think one of the big things that came up, and we started the best workshops, and so certainly hoping to get some public safety involvement, more people at the table, and of course for infrastructure with Parks and Public Works. But one of the items that came up was that there is FEMA Building Resilient Infrastructure Communities Funds, which do work with the King County Flood Control District on evacuation plans and putting in additional roads or routes of evacuation, which we know we have certainly an issue here, which really came into a glaring forefront in December with the flooding and the issues that happened up on I-90. So there are some potential things that we might be able to, qualify for with to help with mitigating those kinds of situations. So
There's no better superpower than hindsight. Because once you've been through an experience, and I know I was trying to leave the safety of my office in downtown North Bend to get home on the ridge, I ran into 5 different roadblocks on the way home. And it's just a simple flooding event. We didn't even have enough barricades for all the roads that were closed. So I think this goes a long ways to help address that. And secondly, it was right after we had the fire department help coordinate the planning, and you can never anticipate what it's going to be until you're actually in the situation, and then you try to figure out how to make it all works. But that's why we do that.
yeah, drills, yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so you'll stay in touch with that. Councilmember Tessman, the reason why I'm bringing these up, if you want to jump in and say, hey, I'm really interested in being involved, I think it's appropriate having somebody from public safety involved in it. And we can't do everything, but that's the reason why we're bringing that up.
And he's in the work group with me too for
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
So, and we don't want to over volunteer you either, because
Yes,
we
we
know that you are anxious to do your ride along and help clean the bay at the fire department.
Oh, if it's just the bay and not the bathrooms, that'll be great.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, it's a win.
I've done both. It's all
The
good.
bathrooms at home. you know?
It's all good. It's all good. It's for a good cause.
That's true.
Is there anything else on
Oh,
that piece?
as we get more information, we'll be bringing
Okay.
things forward, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay.
really great to get people from all these different groups, like sitting down at the same table
Hmm.
is the goal, which would be so awesome.
Absolutely. Okay. The next topic that I just want to touch on, and that's this idea of liability review for best facilities. I know King County has in 2024 passed an ordinance regarding battery energy storage systems. However, there are some other communities that have gone farther in helping to protect, and we've got to figure this out. And I'm just asking for the administration to help support this effort. But let me give you an example. Other communities have addressed general liability, and this includes San Diego County, New York communities, Texas, and Arizona. And the general liability was $1 million cap put on by King County. Those other jurisdictions, it put a cap of 50 million to 200 million. And it's all dictated by the size of the facility and what's available. I think that we need to have a better understanding of what those communities have done differently. Second one, and that's environmental impairment. These same communities have put in $10 million to $50 million requirement to help mitigate in the event of a disaster. We do not have that in place in Washington State, and we don't have that in place in King County. The third one, and that is the decommissioning. We have to be realistic. This is a technology that is for today. It has not been around that long, and it may be outdated in 15 years. how do you handle the decommissioning of battery storage facilities? We currently don't have anything in place, but these other communities, San Diego, New York, Texas, and Arizona, have a $5 to $25 million bond just to make sure that those things are mitigated. And so the request is this. Let's take a look at what the other municipalities, other counties, other states have already put in place that we could recommend to King County to help protect our residents. And I think the other thing too that's really important, and that is we definitely need to be on the leading edge through public safety. Evacuation routes, we have to know how to respond to fires. We know that the technology is both good and bad. The good part is that there's new science behind the cells to help limit the fire. The downside is fires like this have to burn because putting water on it doesn't solve it. And then we've got the issue of water and water resources in the sensitive areas. So there are a whole bunch of things, but what I want to focus on is the environmental impact, the risk mitigation, because we are public safety, and making sure that there is a plan in place. If there is a response needed from our emergency services, that we have a way of recouping those costs. And currently, there is no plan. And that's very concerning. One day, just one day of dealing with a catastrophe costs us over $1 million, will cost the taxpayers over $1 million. So $1 million liability policy does little to address it. Let me give you a couple other little facts as well. California wildfires, that was Pacific Gas and Energy, or Electric, cost $30 billion. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas had a winter storm called Uri that cost $50 billion. Lincoln Power in Illinois cost $39 million. And Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, $9 billion. And recently, the fires in Maui cost $5 billion. So to require only $1 million liability policy is insufficient. So that's my point with that. Any other comments? Yes. Mayor
Just want to make
Mayhew.
sure in your first point, I think you said $1 million cap. I think you meant $1 million floor. You
No,
wanted,
it is a cap.
no, but you're requesting not a cap, but
Oh,
don't know
we're
a
what-
higher cap. Is that what you're requesting?
we're
Or
requesting the information so that King County can make a more appropriate.
so what are others doing? And so forth?
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Got it.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Any other comments? Okay. With that, we are down to the end of the agenda. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Councilmember Tessman, and seconded by Councilmember Cotton to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned at 5:54 p.m. Thank you very much.